Okay, we're back this season with our first podcast, and we're back with our good friends Jonathan Penner, his wife Stacy Title, and we're going to talk about the cast of Survivor Blood versus Water, and we're going to talk about all these wild twists and just get their input on what they think about it. Are you there, guys?
Right on.
We're here.
Good deal. Good to hear you guys again.
Yeah, it's great to talk to you.
Great to be back.
Let's look at the cast first of all.
Sure.
See what you think, and then we'll see how it fits in with the twist. We got Colton and Caleb coming in. They are actually engaged now.
I'm all for. Good for them. I have no idea what Caleb is like, but Colton curdled my blood, as I guess he did everyone else's. And that's why they had him back, because he made good TV, but he was a crappy guy, literally and figuratively.
And so maybe there'll be some kind of redemption for him if he had an ability to look at himself a little bit the way Maria really got to look at her game and really see it. And maybe he'll play a different game, or maybe he'll play the same kooky
Bitch game.
Well, the thing with him is he is really a Survivor buff. I mean, he knows the history of this game, and he knows how it's supposed to be played. And I've read a couple of interviews the last couple of days. They do all the pre-show interviews and stuff, and he just came right out and said, look, all that stuff I said to Bill, and it was just flat out wrong, and apologized for it. So maybe he's turned that leaf over and is going to be a little different. Now, Caleb has a farming background, so he's kind of a rough, tough guy, and I don't think the elements will bother him as much.
which is interesting because definitely that's some of the rumored stuff that you would have to think would come up again for Colton, which was when he was taken out. And I really don't know if this is true, but I've heard it a couple times that it wasn't really that he didn't have what Kat was afraid of, the appendicitis. Remember when she was afraid of
Well, I have some direct knowledge on that if you want it.
I would love it.
It comes straight. It came straight from him because the rumors got around that Jeff Probst considered when Colton left that season that he quit, and I asked Colton about that, and he said, "Well, Jeff's opinion was that when I lost Jay and when I lost Troyzan, that I just decided to throw in the towel and I quit." So that's.
But that was Jeff's opinion, but not his own.
No, Colton did not tell me that he quit.
Well, honestly, what happens, I think, is you shut down. It's easy to get demoralized, dejected, physically debilitated, and your body quits. Though your mind may say, or you can say, no, I don't want to quit, I'm still in there. Some people just can't go on. He just realized he couldn't win, realized he was playing like a little bastard, and that no one liked him. You have to realize that the producers give you toot also. I mean, if you're going to be a jerk out there, well, everyone's going to let you know that you're being a jerk. And he may just have folded up like a house of cards. That's what I'm guessing.
Johnny, when you say the producers give you toot, what do you mean?
Well, I mean, on TV, we're alone on the island, and it's not like, you're playing cards and eating crumpets and chatting these folks up, but they've been out there longer than any of us. They know when somebody is being an asshole, pardon my French,
yeah,
and when somebody is, out there with the right attitude and trying to have fun and make everybody's life easier. And if Colton is just being listen, I don't know Colton from a hole in the ground. I never met the man, never spoke to him. I hope he has had a great experience out there and learned a lot. But the first time, and this is all I can base what I'm talking about on, is he played like an ass and folded up, and if he didn't quit, his body quit on it.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's just like maybe like in sports, like a basketball team or something, you get down by 25 with 3 to play, it's time to, just don't get hurt or something.
No, you just start dragging. And,
standing by your basket and not even running the court.
Exactly. I mean, what's interesting to me about this season, obviously, the big thing, and this is what we're, haven't quite gotten into yet, is this dynamic. That you're putting people that we all know, 10 of them, that we have some ideas about, out there with their better halves, their children that they're going to want to behave in a certain way in front of, their niece, I'm not quite sure what that's about, their parents. It's going to change the way that you behave because it's you're not in a bubble anymore. You're actually out there competing against or with, depending on how they put this thing together, and you can talk about that a little bit, with somebody that you know and love. I'm assuming it's going to make you act a little better.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. All right, let's look at somebody that has been out of the game for a long time. Gervase and his niece Marissa.
Amazing that they went back.
Yeah, do you think? Survivor has changed so much. A lot of it, the base of it's still the same, but with the idols and all these twists and stuff, do you think an older player from that far back is going to have trouble adapting to the new style?
I think Scoopin did pretty well.
Yeah, he did. You're right.
He always talked about that out there. Wow, it was nothing like this. It was hardcore Survivor, and he and I kind of, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but miss when the show was simple enough that the idea that these were actually folks out there trying to survive. The game is not called Player; it's called Survivor. That used to be enough, and now it's sort of taken for granted by everybody that you're going to survive. They're not going to let you starve. You're going to be able to sleep in the rain, and yeah, it sucks and it's hard. But what this is really about is a game that's being played.
And what you just said, Jim, is so interesting. That back then, when you think about that first season, just the bug bites that were so unsightly, where people were scratching them and bleeding and getting scarred, and now there's bug. They give them suntan lotion and they give them stuff to insect repellent because they don't want them to look unsightly. Concomitantly or similar to that, with him, the game he played, Jeff didn't even have his persona then. When you watch the first couple seasons, he was different. He didn't have that. He had such a polished, amazing, and he's an amazing host, I think, in terms of when he's on camera. He was different too, and it's almost like I really hope Gervase or Gervase, is that how you say his name?
Yeah, Gervase.
Gervase watched a lot of it, because if he didn't, I don't think he's going to be prepared. Well, Scoopin, Johnny, don't you agree? Watched a ton of it in between.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know Gervase from a hole in the wall. I'm more wondering about how they had to. There were no other returning survivors that didn't have a tighter blood relation than a niece. Now, is that fun because it's not so close that you couldn't see them cutting each other's throats in a way it would be much harder to cut your kid's throat or your parents' throat?
Right.
Yeah.
Or was it just like she is such a dynamo again?
Well, I think the thing with Marissa, I think she's going to be pretty athletic. All of her background and everything you read about her, she seems like that she would be able to hold up pretty good out there.
Well, that's great. That's part of it. I know I've talked to a bunch of folks who were considered for this game. And I think part of the problem that the casting department had was that there were great people to bring back, and they just didn't feel that their loved ones were going to be good enough TV. These are
Strong
not folks who would have gotten on the show on their own.
Yeah.
God forbid their returning player loved one gets voted out quickly, and you're stuck with Marissa, let's say, and she's a dud. They just couldn't afford to do that. And so I think a lot of folks that might have initially been considered actually had to fall by the wayside because their loved ones just were boring.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true. I feel like maybe that Candace told us is that originally they were talking to her and her dad, because back when we did the family visit for Survivor for Cook Islands, I met her dad, really lovely guy, eye surgeon, and they had considered doing the blood versus water then, and they had decided against it, and they had brought them both out. And so this time they brought him out, but I think maybe, I don't know, was he too old, or I don't know if it's a physical thing, but that's when they went to her
Well,
fiance.
but her husband is this rock,
Yeah,
doctor who looks like that, and he's this big, burly, handsome dude.
But
right. But they did drop a bunch of people. They were definitely auditioning. They had several.
Oh gosh, there were a lot of people in consideration for that, and there were a lot of different reasons why some didn't do it. There were some survivors that just didn't like the concept and didn't want to do it with a loved one, and there were a couple of survivors that didn't have a partner, that they could take, and then it's like you said, there were some that they were just worried about, would the partner that they were going to take be able to hold up. So there were a lot of reasons why a lot of people actually turned it down.
And when you think about Amazing Race and how this overlaps with Race, I feel like that show, because there's a lot more the actual process of the show as opposed to the characters. The characters aren't as important as they are in Survivor. It's like they're moving around and they have all that other stuff, the scenery. Survivor, it's the same scenery. The characters have to be even more powerful.
But they're looking for a dynamic on Amazing Race. I mean, Jim, you probably know this. When I was first approached by Lynn Spillman at a party, she was curious about Stacy and I playing The Amazing Race together, which it turned out we could not do because of not that it would have worked out, but we quickly realized that wasn't going to happen, and then I said, yeah, but Survivor is a better show, and I think we can do that, and she thought I was insane, actually, but of course it all worked out. They are looking for, in this dynamic, and this is what I'm hoping we get, is that interpersonal dynamic. I want to see Colton behaving with his fiancée,
right,
as he would, whether they're lovey-dovey or they're bitchy to each other, or what that dynamic is. They really do on Amazing Race cast pairs because the dynamic is so interesting. Yeah.
Right, and that kind of leads us into our next couple, because they are dating, so they don't have the blood relation going, but they're dating, and Kat and Hayden. Hayden has one big brother, and Kat, of course, was on One World, and a little thing about Hayden was he actually tried to get on Survivor and thought he had been cast, and then he got bumped for somebody else. So he kind of got Big Brother as a consolation prize, and of course he went on and cashed in on it.
Wow.
So now he's going to be out there as a Big Brother champion trying to play Survivor. Do you think they're going to target him kind of like, this is our game, this is not your game?
I mean, if they know. If I had to see that guy, since I've only watched a couple seasons of Big Brother because of, Mike Mallon, and for anyone who's listening, Mike Mallon was at one time Jonathan and my assistant, and so he's our old friend, and has become just one of our close friends. So that's why I watched him. I haven't watched Hayden. I'm wondering if they know. If they did know, yes, I do think they would target him. The thing that bothers me about it is just from a casting perspective is I feel like Survivor's the better show. I I wish they hadn't taken someone from Big Brother. I think it cheapens Survivor. That's just me.
I wouldn't. I don't feel that way. I mean, it's very interesting. I don't know this guy at all. I don't watch Big Brother. I wouldn't know him in the same way I didn't know Jeff Kent. But I assume, honestly, more people on Survivor would know this guy than knew Jeff Kent.
Oh, I think they're going to definitely know Hayden.
Right? And, all you need is one person on each tribe to say, you know who this guy is. He's the guy who won Big Brother, right? For that information to get out. And he's going to be a real wild card. Okay? On the one hand, he's obviously a player. I mean, if he won Big Brother, which is a nasty cutthroat game, he's certainly got the stuff to win Survivor. Survivor may be a better show, maybe a better game, but he's clearly a player. The crazy thing is that I think of Kat as an absolute ding-dong. Again, I only know that from watching her, but she came across as a boob. I mean, she was dumb and cutesy and bizarre, I thought.
But I actually think she's kind of adorable too. Didn't you think she was cute, Johnny?
No.
Okay.
But I mean,
I'm glad you said those things, Penner, so I didn't have to. So the heat will be on you.
And again,
I'm not going to say I disagree with you, though.
yeah, but this is the caveat, right? Who knows what the future for me will hold, or Stacy. Could I wind up playing with this girl? And hopefully she's a fantastic person. I'm only going off of what I saw on TV or my impulse.
Yeah.
My instinct was that she's a dope.
Well,
and
she was.
Wait. I'm sorry. Let me just finish. that the guy who's going to date that girl, I would probably underestimate. You see? Mm-hmm. I would say, yeah, that guy won Big Brother, but if he's dating this girl, who knows what kind of screws loose he has. So I actually think the two of them could be a real dark horse team. They could conceivably go quite far in the game.
Funny that you say that because, she, when she was playing, did very well. And my real memory of her was that funny thing where she thought she could get appendicitis. And I just was like, oh my God.
Like you said, Penner.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, and I'm putting this out there. I have not been spoiled at all for this season. I have no idea what happens. So,
you think it'll be unknown?
I can verify that. He won't let me tell him anything. So
exactly.
All right, let's keep going.
All right, next couple.
What's your take on these two?
I have the same opinion about her as you do. I think she kind of just got carried along the last time she was there in that girl alliance, and that's why she did so well. Now, my opinion about him's a little different. I really don't think he's going to be seen as kind of being a little bit off or whatever because he dates her. I think Hayden is very well received within the reality TV world. He's a smart guy. He's very athletic. I would not underestimate him. Now, her, if she got far again, it could be because he carries her. But I think he's a player for sure.
But I mean, there's different kinds of intelligence. Here I am talking about how dumb people are, and she did better than I did every time I played. So, not that I'm that smart, but who knows? Maybe she's playing a really, really good game, and he's exactly the guy to take along. I don't see him. See, survivors are like weird family of folks, and I would imagine if they're going to turn on anybody, it's not going to be the two of them. They could, if they can survive the first couple of votes, go a long way. I do believe that.
Okay. All right. The next pairing is very interesting because the last time she played, she was definitely a player. Laura Moret and her daughter Ciera.
Yeah, she was a good player.
Yeah, she was smart. She was strong. She was able to build alliances, and even after she was booted, she controlled the jury house. So
I have to confess, I have no idea who that is.
She was on Samoa when Natalie beat Russell.
She was around with the two Russells, and I think I'm remembering that Crazy Russell, as opposed to the Russell you played with, Johnny, I think he targeted her.
Oh, they do not like each other, definitely. That's what Laura controlled that jury house, and
picture when you see her.
Russell didn't win, so.
That's interesting, but I mean, okay. So honestly, whatever this is worth, she made no impression on me.
How funny!
That is.
Remember her? You will.
She's real good shape. I don't know her exact age. I'm guessing she's early 40s, maybe.
And I'm going to look her up on the computer while we're
attractive lady, and her daughter is. And if her daughter is anything like her, which I wouldn't doubt it, they could be a very tough tandem.
I think they could be a tough team because I feel like...
Oh, I know.
You totally know. She's very strong. She's very smart. A little bit, the last time... I'm just trying to think of who I would compare her to, but it almost doesn't matter. She's just very... She got kind of nipped too early. And it's interesting about the jury, and Jonathan can talk about that, how they don't like them to all communicate, but... Don't you guys end up talking?
Oh, sure they do.
Well, you know what? There's only so much talking that needs to happen, right? Everyone has their own impression. It's very hard to talk one person out of their experience of the game. Perfect example of that is this time where both Mike and Lisa got a vote. It seemed clear to me that they weren't going to get any votes, and I think didn't they each get one vote?
I think so.
Yeah.
Now this girl, I don't know. I just seem to remember her as having fake boobs. Is that true?
That I didn't notice.
I honestly don't know that. I know Candace. I know Candace had some work done before she was back this time.
Ouch!
Really?
Yeah.
Oh no.
She's a married doctor. What the hell for? Now it's going to impress. Weird. Okay, well, so Laura and her daughter could go far. How old's the daughter? She's got to be a kid, right?
Well, yeah, Ciera's pretty young. I think she's like 24, maybe.
Cool.
Nice.
I like that idea. I like that team.
And I mean, you'll have another one to kind of compare them to because we got Tina and her daughter, Katie. Tina Wesson's back with her daughter, Katie.
Tina's going to get targeted, I think, just because I feel like it's almost unfair to have winners play or returning players play with regular players. I think it should be all returnees and not winners, or all winners, and then it would level the playing field.
Come on now. Tell that to Boston Rob. Tell that to Sandra Diaz-Twine.
I know. I'm just saying, I feel like my instinct would be, if I were playing, my argument would be, and yes, it's great to take one of the people to the end because you have an argument against them, but I feel like, I don't know.
It is hard to imagine Tina winning again. Speaking for myself, I could see going out, if I could take, you, Stacy, doing it, yeah, I'd have a hard time winning.
Yeah.
It'd be great to share that experience with you. Tina's kid, again, I don't know how old she is, but she probably grew up as, with Survivor in her life.
Yeah, she did.
Fantasizing about doing it. She's got to be in her early 20s, mid-20s, I'm assuming.
Yep.
Yep. So Tina won 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, and see, Tina has the distinction of being all the way to the top of the mountain and all the way to the bottom. Yeah. She went from winner to first boot.
Yeah.
Was she first boot in the All-Stars?
Yep.
Wow.
So, to give your kid that kind of opportunity, and to take, okay, so I'm probably not going to win, but I ain't going to be the first one out, she hopes, again, and see if I still got it under the trunk. I could see her doing that. I don't see either of them winning the game. But I didn't know who the hell Laura was, so, I don't know.
Well, I see, and we have another ex-winner on this cast. It's not just Tina. We've got Aras and his brother Vytas.
Right.
So there's another ex-winner. You think he'll be targeted?
I think so. I just feel like if I were out there, I'm just thinking about myself. I always have that aversion to the winners winning twice. And look at Sandra Diaz-Twine. She is the queen of Survivor. In my opinion, I would always rank her first of everyone.
Me too.
So hard to play, and she won twice, for God's sake.
I mean, I know all the arguments about how she won or this or that, but I'm sort of a bottom line guy. You give me somebody that's been out there twice and brought home the bacon both times, it's hard to argue against that.
You can't.
You can't argue against her. And frankly, I'm sure they asked her and her husband to play this time.
I heard it was her and a daughter. Was it a daughter?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think it was a child that would.
Well, but let's go back to Aras for a second.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's a guy that I also don't have a great sense of. I've met him once or twice, sort of in passing. He's a slightly, to my mind, a strange guy. He's not a strange guy, but, he's not like, he wouldn't just sit here and maybe you've interviewed him. He's not the kind of guy you just sit down and have a beer with and you're going to have a jolly good time. And so I could see them targeting him because he's a little funky.
Yeah.
I think he flew under the radar the last time as this yoga guy, just like
Exactly.
Fabio.
Yeah, I was going to bring up the yoga.
At the end and say, "Oh crap! But this guy's still here, and I guess he won, right?"
Yes,
And
yep.
Vytas is like a pretty famous in LA yoga teacher.
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah, they.
People know him.
As if you're going into a game, I mean, when you got returnees and they're going to know each other, they're going to talk. I mean, you can't stop that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of talk that Aras knew a lot of these people through the yoga and all that kind of stuff, and may have had some pre-show alliances made. But I mean, when you get out there, all of that can blow up.
Right, depending on how it gets shuffled. But I feel like they could be. I feel like in a weird way, they might be a slightly stronger team than Tina and her daughter, because this is only Aras' second time. This is Tina's third time. But I still think Aras could get targeted. But I think if they can be playing together or have some kind of way of aligning later, they're both real athletic, and they're both, I think the brother is probably a little more charming, but I think Aras, as much as he's like a little different, he could probably turn on the charm for playing in the way that he needed. He was pretty sweet, like he was in there last time, but I still think someone might target him.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I think they probably both have a pretty good shot, right? Aras looks, I'm just on my computer, he looks just like Josh Duhamel to me. And if Vytas is as good-looking and charming and athletic and under-the-radar kind of guy, yeah, they're going to do great.
All right.
So it's always one of these things. Somebody has to go first. You have to get rid of somebody, right?
Okay.
What
Well,
often happens when it's like the weakest, the weirdest, the oldest, these are the people that go because you turn around, you've lost the challenge.
You feel like crap.
You say, oh, crap, we just lost. Yeah, I wanted to get rid of this guy, Aras, but, man, if we're ever going to win, we need Aras. This is the danger of Survivor, right? Jeff Kent wanted to get rid of me early, and then, and I knew, and this is not just to make it about me, I'm using this as an example, I knew if I could survive a couple of votes, I'd probably do okay because, everyone says, oh, crap, if we ever won or ever did okay, Penner had something to do with it.
Right.
Whereas these other folks were not bringing as much to the challenges. If we all hope to survive to the merge, we have to get rid of the weakest, the oldest, the weirdest, and that's why somebody like Flicka would get voted off so early, or Cowboy, And so Aras and his brother, they're probably going to last a good long time. I wouldn't be surprised.
All right. We got 3 couples left. Another is Rupert and his wife, Laura.
Yeah, well, there's a perfect example, okay? So either they're going to do great because we're always going to be able to get rid of Rupert. I mean, if he's got a wife that supported him through a gubernatorial run, she's either a genius or a saint or a fool. I don't know which. So either they're going to go immediately as the old weird ones who've been around forever, crap, let's get rid of Rupert, or they're going to turn around and, holy crap, these guys have been around for the whole game, and they could just win it. It's going to be an either-or with those two, I believe.
Well, that's how you felt about yourself, and I think it's always that feeling, even the second time you played, you knew you had to really get past the first couple votes because you're considered a threat, you're considered a manipulative player.
Yeah,
and certainly coming off the first season you played, you were even more of a heavy. And, being back there the second time you played like that, it's going to be really interesting to watch Rupert. I think just think people are a little sick of him. And I can't say I'm sick of him, but when I was aware of his political run, I was watching that, and that same kind of Muppet face, it's just like, oh, God, I can't take it.
Yeah, you'd like to get the real, maybe we are getting the real Rupert. And again, I don't know him from a hole in the wall, but the sense that I get of him is that he could really wear on you pretty quickly.
I think he does with cast members.
What's that? He does.
I think he does. Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot of ex-survivors that see him in a very positive manner.
Why, Jim? Why is that? Why do you think?
Well, I know one thing for sure. Back when he was on All Stars, a cast member from that season told me that when he would do confessionals, he would cry about missing everyone back home and this and that. And after the camera was off and he was back at camp with them, he would say stuff like, I bet that gets me some votes. He was always interested in winning that fan favorite again.
And because he won $1 million from fan.
Yeah. And they and I was told that season they even started voting people off because they thought they could possibly win fan favorite at the end of the season.
Wow.
So that rubbed some of the players wrong.
I get it.
Yeah, man, keep that to yourself. Anyway, I mean, if that's what you're thinking about, like, come on, that's silly. But
I mean, $100,000 is a nice prize, but $1 million.
Yeah, he got $1 million.
James got a special prize, but his was $100,000, right?
Right. He's the only one that got $1 million for being fan favorite.
Well, that was back when Survivor was king.
Yeah.
How old is Rupert? Is he my age? Is he as old as me?
I think he is. I think so.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm 52.
I think he, when I think about him, I think about that crazy shelter he talked them into.
Oh gosh, right by the water.
You know what I think, honestly, and it's that people change, right? He's been around for 13 years. If I think back on where I was, or 15 years ago, whatever it is, 15 years ago, I wasn't dressing the same. I had a different haircut. I might have shaved. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's one thing for a 35-year-old guy who's working with the homeless or whatever it was that he does, looking like kind of a hippie with his tie-dye shirt. That's cool. He was an interesting character. But now that he's 52 and still looking like that, even though he's got $1 million at least in the bank, I think it's off-putting. Maybe unconsciously people are like, why is he still holding on to this weird persona? It's like, grow up, man. It makes you an eccentric person,
right?
And kind of off-putting. I mean, that's my. I don't know. What do you guys think? Am I right?
Eccentric is a really great description.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's just really like that, but it just appears that he's still trying to live out his character that he sort of created on the show. And maybe that rubs people wrong too. I don't know, But he's got his fans, but I just know with the survivors themselves, he's not very popular. So we got two couples left. We've got Monica and Brad Culpepper.
They're going to be strong. How could they?
Yeah,
not?
man. Don't count them out. The two of them. This guy's talk about a player. He's a pro football player.
Yeah, they are both physical, smart. They could walk right through this unless something happens. I know he is very, very protective of her, so he could get into trouble with maybe trying to defend her over a situation. But
and I know you want to talk about the couples first. That's great. What kind of twist situation there is? Because I would, if I could, put some wedges in between people. That's a great way to hurt a power couple like that. If you're playing not with blood versus water and you find a couple that's hooked up out there, man, the first rule is split them up. Get rid of at least one of them.
Right.
You can't play like that. So if you find yourself out there with a married couple of athletes who are both gorgeous, kick-ass players like they are, man, you gotta get rid of one of them if you can.
They're super threats.
Yeah, when we get to the twist, I want to bring up that point about married couples and see what you think about it, since you could kind of put yourself in that position. We got one couple left, and then we'll get to those twists. We got.
I think Monica. And I was so disappointed when she left earlier than I thought she would, and when she got sold out, maybe her mental game, her that part of her game will be stronger this time because she got screwed that way. But they look like a strong team to me.
Yeah, I agree. The last couple we have are Tyson and his girlfriend Rachel.
Yeah. Well, Tyson came across as sort of a bastard, right? Like a funny, cynical,
Fantastic.
Sarcastic,
art guy kind of player.
A little bit like you the first time you played, but a little bit more like slick.
He's probably kind of seen as being out there. You know, some of the tweets and comments he makes are kind of zany. I don't know how much of it's an act or a gimmick, and how much is real. But you know, he's kind of a Coach Wade disciple, and we saw Cochran do pretty good. So
yeah,
you know, maybe there's something to playing with Coach and learning a little bit and going back and doing better.
You know, Coach, when you talk about Rupert, I feel the opposite way about Coach. Even though Coach had a crazy first season, he's extremely likable in person and in general in the game, and I would love to watch him again, even though probably some people are sick of him. But I feel like I'm interested. I'm excited to see Tyson just for the fact of, you know, he was a fun player. He was an intellectual person.
I'm sure he'll get a lot of camera time because he's going to be full of quotes. He'll probably be one of Jeff's favorites. So
who's his girlfriend?
Rachel, I think her last name's Folger, Foulger, something like that.
Like the coffee.
No, with the U.
Almost, yeah, but it has a U. So it's a boyfriend-girlfriend thing. So I don't know. You know, comes down to that $1 million. Are you gonna?
They calm him down a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, this is the interesting thing, right, about this dynamic. Like, even married couples. Stacy and I are both kind of alpha dogs, you know.
Right.
He is not the submissive wifey, and nor am I the submissive husband. And we all know couples where that either of those dynamics come in. Okay.
Right.
So like with Candace and her husband, it'll be interesting to see. I don't really know them, what that dynamic is like. And with Tyson, yeah, you know, in private he may be like a wild guy, but she may be a wild person too, and she may anchor him in some way. You know,
right.
He's definitely going to need her to be a super smart player for them to march to the end. Whereas the Culpeppers, you could sort of sense they could do a Terry Dietz kind of,
exactly.
You know, we're just going to march forward and no one's going to stop us. And I think for Tyson to win, it's going to, or for her to win, the two of them are going to have a really appealing, interesting, and smart dynamic going forward, I think.
I think so too. All right, let's take a break. And we'll come back and we're going to...
Can we just dial back for half a second and talk about Candace besides her boobs?
Sure.
First off, Candace, I love you. Why did you do your boobs? I never heard that. I hope... Listen, you know what? Do what you got to do to make yourself beautiful.
Well, if she's happy with it.
Married, who the hell needs it? But what she's going to do out there, she's played twice already and had a hard time both times. I'm not sure that she's got what it takes to make the adjustment with this guy around that she could go all the way. He's going to have to be a fantastic influence on her and a totally lovable guy on his own right for them to go all the way. And I just don't see it. I don't.
I think you may be right. All right, let's break and we'll get into all these twists and see what you guys think about them.
Are we talking too much, Jim?
No.
All right.
All right.